Our topic for this panel is going to be unlocking value beyond cost savings, the evolving role of procurement in strategic growth. Our moderator for this panel will be Mr. Nikhil Kamat, SAP Sales Director, Enterprise and Public Sector, India and Sri Lanka. To tell you a little more about our moderator, Mr. Nikhil brings over 24 years of experience in successfully building business operations at both local and global levels. Throughout his career, he has crafted and executed untapped go-to-market strategies, driving impactful business outcomes. His extensive experience combined with his adventurous spirit makes him a dynamic leader capable of navigating challenges with resilience and innovation. Mr. Nikhil, could I please have you on stage once the stage is set? I would also like to introduce our panelists who will be on this session, starting with Mr. Manoj Murmu, Procurement Head, Aarti Industries Limited, Mr. Jishnu Chandra, Head of Procurement, Eureka Forbes, Ms. Swetha Rane, Associate VP, Sourcing and Logistics, Godrej Industries Limited, Mr. Manoj Yermalkar, Head Procurement, ACG Worldwide, Mr. Sandeep Pratap, Senior Manager, Raw Material Sourcing, Colgate, Palmolive, and Mr. Sukumar Krishnamurthy, Chief Procurement Officer, SB Constantia. Could I please have you on stage, and could we please have a round of applause for them? And for yourselves too, for being a great audience so far.
As the topic goes, right, it is about moving not beyond, but cost saving always has been the evergreen KPI when it comes to procurement leaders, right? But what we have seen post-COVID is there is a strategic importance now been assigned to procurement as well, or supply chain, right? And again, COVID was just the starting. We now on daily basis see new surprises being thrown up, geopolitical or whatever you call it, right? Now, and that's where my first question goes to Manoj. Primarily, when you want to move, look at strategic growth for your organization, right? Moving beyond the cost-saving initiatives, there are certain key enablers we see, right? Typically, supplier collaboration. Make in India is one example, which is also gaining traction. Also, AI is something which is evolving as a theme as well, right? So what are your thoughts in terms of looking at how procurement can help from a strategic perspective using some of these enablers?
Thank you, Nikhil, and good afternoon to everyone. First of all, thanks again, Skill Media. A warm appreciation for inviting me as a speaker and giving me this wonderful opportunity. The very first thing that comes to my mind, or rather what I have been experiencing, is about strategy. See, transformation in supply chain or procurement I have been witnessing for last almost more than 2.5 decades. What used to happen earlier, of course, transactions, your day-to-day work, your cost control, those were all your hygiene factors. Those were all your, you can say, factors which were considered as your bread and butter. Strategy was something which was missing. Today, I have witnessed the procurement transformation for the last almost 10 years or so, ever since I have been leader in this particular organization. People are talking about strategy. Now, what is strategy? First, organization strategy, then your procurement strategy. Today, in my organization, we prepare a strategy of next 5 years, and we keep evolving it, we keep moderating that strategy every year. So, the first transformation begins with understanding what is a strategy of your organization and aligning that strategy with your procurement strategy or supply chain strategy. That is the first and foremost thing. Rest of the things are definitely follow. Second thing is, of course, there are now enablers. The biggest enabler is your innovation. Innovation, people used to think is not my baby. Innovation is, there is some innovation sale. They will talk about innovation, product innovation, your whatever innovation comes to their mind, marketing innovation. Procurement teams are also nowadays talking about innovation. And in my current organization, what I can see is people are talking about innovative processes, innovative methods, innovative manufacturing techniques, innovative ways of reducing the cost. While we go away from cost control function, cost is definitely going to be there till we retire from the organization. But it has been looked at from a different lens. In my current organization, we don't talk about material cost reduction or cost reduction. Those are all traditional words. We talk about the cost efficiencies. We talk about cost management. We talk about accelerated cost efficiencies, gross margin improvement. These are the words which my team speaks, and that has really given us benefits in terms of, you can say, bottom line improvement, of course. So that is one enabler as far as procurement transformation is concerned. Second enabler is, of course, artificial intelligence, integrating your AI capabilities into your procurement platform. There are multiple ways. One of the simplest or low-hanging fruit is your robotic process automation. We are in a process of implementing it. We have SAP S/4HANA, but wherever we have mundane tasks, we are trying to convert it into the automated tasks. Then people are talking about sustainability. In my organization and wherever I'm visiting as a, you can say, panelist, I'm seeing that most of the industries, procurement professionals are talking about the sustainability. So these enablers, leveraging these enablers, not only in my current industry, I have seen that practically in every industry are transforming the procurement function. We are not being considered merely as a transactor or resource function. We are now being considered as a strategic function. Most important thing is fundamentally everyone should understand strategy of the organization and take every action and make every process which is aligned to the organization strategy. These are my takes on the transformation of procurement.
Thank you, Manoj. Sukumar, any thoughts on this topic from your side?
Yeah, sorry, am I audible? Yeah, so basically, I think procurement from a cost control point of view, when you say control, it is more to look at how do I control my expenses vis-a-vis a certain target or a budget. But it has moved from there to becoming, essentially two major roles, which is basically, managing the supply chain in this highly complex geopolitical world. Today you have Israel attacking Iran, and are you going to get the material? You have, China, having the rare earth and not supplying. So those supply chain issues are becoming more challenging, and you have to have a strategy to how do you ensure supply chain primarily. And then over and above that, look at how do you drive efficiency within the process in terms of cost as well as savings, and all that will continue to be so. So when you look at supply chain, it depends on how do you mitigate your risks of supply chain. Whether you have, it's not necessarily that you have to have only multiple suppliers, but you have to have multiple suppliers for multiple geographies today. You cannot just depend on just one geography. For example, like you have rare earth magnets from China, but maybe multiple suppliers, but then with China you don't have any other source, right? Apart from that, how you proactively look at when you have a single source, a single geography or a single source, how do you look at mitigating through either developing alternate source or developing alternate technology, Otherwise, you may not really be able to do that. And procurement efficiency today, that's how procurement has become a value driver to the organization in terms of strategy. And how does it drive growth to the business? Looking at how do I optimize my resources in terms of, and still delivering the value or the output that one is expected of. I think that's largely the thing. And the enablers really are, like he has said, innovation. And innovation just not in developing a product or an alternate material, but also looking at innovation in your own processes. And how do I, change those processes to make it better? Of course, digitization is another area. But digitization, I would say here also that every organization has a different level of digitization maturity, right? And therefore, you have to take it from there to go to the next level. I mean, everybody is talking about AI today. It doesn't mean that you have to jump into AI. You have to assess where you are and then move on to the next level of digitization, so to speak. And of course, sustainability is an area. Compliance is a key area. And the key enablers would be really how do you manage people, organization, what kind of organization structure you have, and kind of talent management that you have would really drive your value creation.
Thank you, Sukumar. I think that the strategy part becomes very critical, right? But then strategy means procurement on its own cannot run the strategies because it's an organization, internal, external factors are there, cross-functional teams are involved in that. You need those strategic capabilities. So my question goes to Swetha in terms of what do you think when you want to execute a strategy, what are those strategic capabilities, cross-functional alignments, which are very critical for you to develop as a procurement leader or align with them, right?
So thanks, Nikhil. I'm a bit under the weather, so I hope everybody can hear me well. Okay. So thanks for inviting me here. It's a real privilege to be talking here. I'll try to break the question into three parts because I understand the question is also like this. We're talking about the strategic capabilities, one. We're also talking about the cross-functional interactions that we want to, and how are we looking at procurement today in this transforming landscape as being not mere a supporting function, but being a contributor there. I think the executive mandate is one of the key things because how your organization is looking at your procurement function, that's very important. And I would say at Godrej, the procurement team is empowered to make buying decisions that have a direct impact on the P&L, and that's very important because when you believe in your procurement team, you entrust them and empower them. That itself sets the stage. Plus, there has been a lot of talent upskilling happening. Then there has been a lot of technology upgrading that we are working on. We understand the need of the hour, and we are looking at digitization also. Like we were having this chat outside in the breakout time. So that, of course, is very important. Coming back to the cross-functional thing, I think procurement, if I have to refer back to Godrej again, has been a core participant in all the integrated business planning meetings and also in the SNOPs meetings. And this is where procurement team would come with, the critical inputs, whether it is about the price trends, whether it is about the supply constraints or any congestions or anything that would help the business to make a forward decision, a proactive decision. All of those critical inputs are considered, and that very well aligns the commercial team to make a fair commitment to our customers. Because my commercial will then make a commitment understanding that the procurement will be able to deliver within or, as to whether it is an MTS model or MTO model, taking those things into consideration, then they will be able to make a fair commitment to the customer so that you don't end up having excessive inventory or you're not falling short. So that is, I think, a critical connect as a cross-functional thing. If I have to, I'll not get into the details because we spoke enough on the innovation. Apart from our internal process innovation, and I think also a very key synergy with the R&D team, as far as the cross-function is concerned, is very important for the procurement team today. Because you are involved right from the beginning of a new product development. It's not that you are expected to, like conventionally, procurement team was only expected to do, I would always say it's a pure chasing job. So it's no longer that pure chasing job now. So we are involved right from the beginning. Then, of course, we have the integration with the finance team, where you understand that the procurement decisions that you are making, what kind of impact it has on my P&L, on my gross margins, on the cash flow. So this is a very good understanding when you have this integration with the finance team. Of course, you cannot undermine the collaboration that you have with the sustainability team, the legal team, or even the regulatory team. All of these are very important because when you, as a business, like he rightly said, there is a strategy for the organization, and then you have your procurement strategy. So your procurement strategy always needs to align with the business strategy. And this cross-functional interaction, depending on how well-defined processes you have, will empower the procurement to deliver better, align with the business goals. I'll come to the first part of it. What kind of strategic capabilities a sourcing team or a procurement team member needs when we're talking about placing a procurement professional to contribute to the organization? I would, of course there are many, but the key ones I would say is that to consider procurement to be truly embedded into the, as a contributor, so that we are not working in functional silos, and we are delivering as an operational seamless model, I would consider the very first one is the deep category intelligence. So for example, in my team, the commodity manager for glycerin is not a mere negotiator. So he or she understands the interplay between the production cycles, the biodiesel mandates, the regulatory impact on the business, also understands the quality nuances that will have with different grades of glycerin on the downstream products. So it is much more beyond just buying or negotiating. So that is a deep category intelligence that I would talk of. The second part, of course, we've been talking since morning, is the risk mitigation approach. Because you know now what are the roadblocks or anticipated challenges, be it the Red Sea or the Suez or the ongoing wars. What are my, where are my sources? How can I diversify it? How can I be proactive? So that is the second piece which you need to be very well aware of. And I would also talk about a third important thing, which I consider a little one step ahead of the TCO concept, where I call it the total value of ownership. So what is the total value my vendor is delivering beyond the product, you know, in terms of sustainability or in terms of regulatory compliance. So in case if I have to agree to pay a little bit premium price for a given product, I am still okay to do that because it promises me traceability. It gives me an assurance of no deforestation. It tells me that, you know, it is coming from a source which is in compliance with the ESG or the regulatory things, because it then also gives me an assurance on the market reach, and also in big time, it is a brand reputation which is secured. So I would consider at least these three as the key ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Swetha. And one of the things from an SAP perspective, what we are seeing in the market, right? What Swetha mentioned also is there are multiple factors. What goes into deciding, see, she took an example of glycerin, right? So there are so many things about production processes. There is so many things about sustainability, the carbon footprint, my supplier's carbon footprint. Many other factors are being looked at seriously. Earlier, those were not the factors, right? And because end of the day, what you procure also goes into your branding of how sustainable procurement you're going, right? So it impacts your revenue cycle also, and considering the millennial people are coming into the play, and a lot of talk in terms of am I procuring or am I taking a product which is sustainable enough, right? A lot of these questions are getting asked from the next generation as well. What we have seen is one trend which was usually offline. We are seeing that coming online, bringing in insights from third-party intelligence, market intelligence, internal assessment is something we have heard is should cost analysis. So should cost analysis has earlier used to be part of Excel sheets and all. We are seeing more and more customers asking SAP, can we have that online? The reason is, it is not just about internal price trends, what we have bought in the last 10 years. We want to build in sustainability, carbon footprint. Now, supplier may not give us, but can we get a third party to provide some carbon footprint measures into that, right? It may not be accurate. Can we start somewhere, right? And can I look at third party dynamics or intelligence to build that into it? Because when, whether it's a B2B or B2C, my customers are asking for how sustainable my supply chain is, right? And can I feed that in terms of how we are, where we are started? So we are seeing a trend of should cost analysis coming online, getting insights not just from internal but even external system to arrive at a proper cost estimate based on multiple factors also, which mitigate risk, look sustainable, and again give a financial background to that also, right? Because you can always tweak and understand what is the overall margins it is impacting and other things also. So thank you, Swetha. Jishnu, what are your thought process on these areas, right? When it comes to strategic capabilities and cross-functional alignments, and that extends to vendors as well. Yeah.
Right. So I think let me share some perspective because I come from electrical and electronic goods companies. I have led several transformations in those companies. Every organization also goes through a transformation journey, and so as procurement as a whole globally is also going through a same journey of evolution. What I feel in terms of strategic capability, and I do agree with Swetha on that, the first thing which comes to my mind as well is an excellent and a better way of category management. Now, I look at it from a different lens altogether. So I have established category managers in various organizations, but the truth is that category managers are, I think, majority of their bandwidth gets stuck into managing supplies and maybe controlling costs. But today, when we see the whole list of responsibilities that are expected to be performed by category manager, it's actually truly overwhelming. It extends much beyond supply and cost. It also leads to, let's say now we talk about sustainability, we talk about leading transformation projects, not only related to procurement, but navigating such projects which are related to other functions as well. So even to do an excellent category management, I think it stems down to as basic as, for example, when you hire team managers, we look at who has done similar work, who can do similar work, who has the relevant skills and experience. So we actually look at getting subject matter experts who can lead end-to-end categories. Now, how this helps is basically when we have a structured way of category management, it helps in aligning our sourcing strategies to the overall business objectives. And I think that is one of the key linkages where procurement can actually contribute to growth. And we have enough examples in terms of procurement's contribution to, let's say, EBITDA of the company and so on and so forth in several areas. So each category is like a mini procurement function which handles end-to-end responsibilities, and the so-called, nowadays we call it as responsible procurement, which under its umbrella there are a lot of things which come in. I think that's the most important capability which we need to develop, and we need to evolve in every organization, evolve it to a much more matured state. The second thing is in terms of cross-functional alignment, I think procurement, unlike any other function, has the maximum number of linkages to other functions. I think procurement is at the center of an organization surrounded by, let's say, R&D, let's say supply chain distribution teams, manufacturing teams, finance, and everybody has an expectation from procurement team. So saying that, I think there are very strong connections, kind of bridges between procurement and all these, let's say, 7-8 different functions in the organization. And each of these, I think, bridge is nothing short like a Chenab bridge linking some two inaccessible parts of the organization, or let's say two different functions which have very conflicting opinions. So I think procurement has this unique role of navigating through, let's say, stage gate NPD meetings, navigating through SNOP discussions, connecting cost savings program to, let's say, finance KRAs like P&L impact of those programs into the P&L, leading several transformation projects during the day in and day out. I think that's where procurement comes as a much more strategic role. And one of the, I think, as terms of cross-functional alignment, I think there has been a fundamental shift, but I think there are many organizations still there where there needs to be a mindset change. Procurement needs to be considered as a strategic function. I have experienced many cases where other functions believe that they can also do procurement, and there is a lot of interferences. People want to do procurement other than procurement people, and people also think that procurement is a, let's say, a PO making function. So you just give 3 quotations and they will probably process the PO. But I think procurement has a larger role to do, and hence that alignment which is required to build through these different connections, building the basic SOPs, basic processes in place, and of course technology to make it more strong. I think other than that, I think some unique observations I have on in terms of the organization also, whereby I see, if I see this room as such, we have a very matured org structure for, let's say, sales, marketing, and other functions, even R&D and all. But if I see maybe some part of this room, procurement would be part of a larger supply chain team. Maybe some part of this room, procurement is a part of a CFO function. Maybe a large part of this room would have a dual reporting to the CFO or to the supply chain team. So I think procurement, it's time now that it should stand out as a, and in some companies which are matured enough, they have a separate CPO function. So not all companies have a CPO. There are heads of procurement reporting to CFOs, CSCOs, and I think it's to be recognized as a individual vertical, which is very, very scientific and technical now in today's business world. And hence there has to be I think it's mandatory to have a C-level representation of procurement at the board level, at the leadership level. In the absence of that, I have seen several times procurement in the middle of all blame games, and we'll have all this, I think, kind of pressure all the time. So it will not be able to evolve as an influencer in organizational decisions. I think last but not the least, I think one of the support which procurement does need today is about technology investment. I think we are dealing with a lot of data, and at the same time, there are n number of solutions which are already available in the market, be it, let's say, end-to-end P2P solutions, or we have even costing platforms, like you mentioned, should be costing. We have several ZBC platforms which are available in the market today. So I think a lot of solutions are available. To choose the right solution, either modular or end-to-end, I think that investment is something organizations must do on the procurement function to enable it to kind of contribute towards better growth. And also I think risk management as a subject can be done in a much more structured way if there is a technology investment. In the absence of a technology investment in procurement, I think even whatever data we have, it is difficult to analyze, identify, measure, and then mitigate the risk as well. So I think these are the things which are very much required.
Yeah, thank you, Jishnu. And I think since we already spoke about strategy, I think it comes down to the granular part. Sandeep, I think sourcing strategy becomes another important factor as a granularity level, considering where the world we are living in, geopolitical issues, tariffs, US introduces tariffs, China says, I will not supply, I introduce my own law, Europe introduces its own law, India says, make in India, otherwise pay more, right? So it has become an ever-evolving, changing landscape, right? And it's dynamic. What do you think are those sourcing strategies which now need to be placed for an organization as a procurement leader? How flexible and how dynamic it has to be? And what are your thoughts on how you run that today, considering so many changes are happening on a day-to-day basis, which are outside your control?
Thanks, Nikhil. So first of all, let me give a disclaimer. All my views may or may not be representative of my organization. That's a disclaimer. So let me take a step back before I answer that question. And as Jishnu said that everyone thinks that they are a procurement person. And so to explain the procurement, what we do to laymen who don't know procurement, we do cost, and all of us knows what cost is. What we do in cost, most of the cost savings are generated by this function. Quality, obviously a gate, you have to get a good quality product because you can control your own manufacturing quality, but most of the quality problems comes from supplier and it becomes very, very critical for our. But the one which I'm going to explain right now or give my view on, that is availability. Availability is something which we do. It comes as a very, very default thing. No one takes care of it. No one talks about it. At least not the strategic guy. Operational person do work on availability. And then on top of it, there is technology, which supports and enable improvement on all the rest of the 3 KPIs. So in last few years, the number of disruptions are so high. And it can be because of some natural calamities, it can be because of some government decisions, it can be because of which are beyond our control, are so high that I believe that in the history of mankind, it was never high that high. And if you'll see the graph before 2020, it will look flat compared to what is happening in last 5 years. And we have to adjust our sourcing according to that. And it's very difficult. It's really difficult because we are not prepared for it. We don't have tools We don't have thought processes to get into details. So it's very easy to get data of your own organization, but it's to get data outside your organization, which we handle, is very, very difficult. So I'll give an example. In my previous company, I used to work for Eveready, and we used to buy manganese dioxide, and our sourcing was from India and Africa. And suddenly there was natural calamity in Australia, and I was aware and I reacted to it. And we were not buying anything from Australia. But manganese dioxide in the world, a good quantity comes from that. So whoever was buying from Australia will go to my suppliers and start taking it. So we acted on it. We have to act on this disruption. We have to prepare our strategy to handle such disruptions. We need to go into details. We do our supplier checks. We have to go into tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, till the time we reach a mineral or a agri-produce, and we need to understand our raw materials or packaging materials or our whatever we are buying services, where it is going at the end, and where can disruption happen. You might be sourcing from China, but your China supplier might be sourcing a critical raw material from Ukraine, and you can get affected by Ukraine war, even though you don't think. So it's our job become very, very critical in making the sourcing strategy. We have to go much, much deeper than what we are comfortable with. We have to, and this is a time when procurement and supply chain, we are becoming supply chain guys. We were always part of supply chain or finance, as he said. But now we are managing the supply chain outside our organization, which is very difficult to do. And the role becomes very, very critical. And this is the most interesting time, as I say, this is most interesting time and most difficult time for a procurement person. And this is the time, again, I come back to his idea, we have to be on the board. Because we are the ones who are contributing the most. We are the ones who are managing the risk most. We are the ones who can be the game changers. We can either make the organization successful or we can make the organization fail.
Exactly, and thanks Sandeep for that. I think the messaging is very clear. When I'm doing a sourcing strategy, I need to know the end supplier whom I'm sourcing from, right? It need not be just my next in supply chain. That kind of information has to be derived as part of the sourcing strategies. Also, again, to summarize, primarily supply chain procurement is a strategic role and it has got importance. In fact, no sales if there is no procurement or supply chain person, right? That's as good as that. I mean, we know that, and it's been always there. It just got amplified. I don't know whether I should say thanks to the global uncertainties and all, but procurement role has got amplified very much due to that, right? Because sales cannot happen without them. So that brings me to Manoj in terms of what do you think about sourcing strategy? I know, again, you are into the chemical industries and you are affected with what comes in, what goes out, export, import, everything, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think post-2020, VUCA has been consistent till date. If the shipping works, then the production does not work. If the production works, then the tariffs come in. If the tariffs go away, then the GRI come in from the shipping line. So everything, every day, something is dynamic. So your sourcing strategy, we feel, has to be agile enough to accommodate all these multivariate things that you can see in the market. So I think in Aarti Industries, what we have done as a company, 3 decades old company, very mature leadership, technocrats. So I think they had envisioned this from a larger period of time from their experiences. So I think we already had quite a bit of systems in place in terms of organization maturity. And post-2020, I'm happy to say that procurement finally has a voice in the C-suite. We were no longer service providers. We were people who had to present the risks, the challenges, and the support that is required to support the entire company. As my panelists said that, we can make or break the company literally. So, we came up with an interesting strategy in the year 2022 that, we will obviously buy globally because the products that we buy are not made in India, but also we took an initiative that year that we'll also develop locally. So those products which were not available in India, can we join partnership, develop someone who can do these products with us? And happy to say that many products we have started developing from a local source, which have insulated us from your FX, insulated us from logistics, insulated us from all these risks that have been happening geopolitically. Obviously, the scale and the contribution ratio to the sectors is small, but again, it's a drop in the bucket that we have been putting in a long time. So these are one of the few strategies that you can look at in terms of category management, de-risking yourself. Second is your supplier segmentation. Know your partners. As the panel has already told us that, know your tertiary and down the line partners also, whether their dependency is also high, and form your risk quadrangle. Are these suppliers who are mature? Are these suppliers who are challengers? Are these suppliers who are on a risk category? And on that basis, formulate your 5-year plan, 3-year plan. How do you want to work with them in the future? And I'm not just talking about your raw material suppliers, even your packaging suppliers, your logistics suppliers also you can put on such applications and then determine your risk reward ratio. And as we see that the volatility is not going to go away. The suppliers are always going to be your partners. So rather than just looking at them as somebody you can squeeze the best price out of, we can look at them as our partners, bring in transparency, bring in agility, and contribute to their development. And if an organization can work with them, they will be your decade-long partners in the future also. So as for mature people, procurement professionals, and for newcomers, I think these are the few strategies in category management which are time-tested and also true to whatever we are saying. So definitely this will work for in category management.
Thank you, Manoj. And I think as you saw, the procurement leaders are at a cusp of transformational change. Again, they have to weigh in so many factors, be it the geopolitical, local, and another important factor is the new generation, right? There is millennials, there is alpha generation, which has now been called as a new terminology. They have to deal with a lot of people who are technologically good, but then there are other challenges which pose, right? So my last question is more like a rapid fire to each one of the panelists. What, as a procurement leader, that we are clearly seeing you are going to transform the direction of an organization. You would be one of those catalysts who will transform the direction of an organization from a growth perspective. What is that one capability as a procurement leader or the mindset shift you think procurement leaders should have for the next 3 to 5 years to become that catalyst of the directional change which an organization will undergo, considering all the chaos which is there around? Maybe we'll start with Manoj and see. Yeah.
So I think for me, one of the keywords would be transparency. It would be internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. So that mindset needs to change. Tell your partners if something is going wrong or going right, so that all of you can adapt and succeed together.
Yeah. Thanks, Manoj. Jishnu?
So I think that one capability required is to leverage technology extensively and in order to kind of proactively manage all the risks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for me, your digital mindset and strategic orientation and ability and willingness to read the future.
Thank you, Manoj. Swetha?
For me, I think procurement guys need to think more like a CEO, like a business owner. Need to have that mind shift change of being more proactive so that we look at challenges as opportunities where we can convert them into opportunities and leverage business or market reach and gain more mileage.
Perfect. Thank you. So Kumar?
I think the most important thing is to have the mindset change from being a controller to a value driver of the business. Ability to collaborate, adapt to new technology, and being extremely agile in this current complex world.
Thank you, Sukumar. Sandeep?
So in Hindi, there is a word called upeksha, which has two meanings. One is disrespect and another one is indifference. And I'm talking about indifference here. We need to learn indifference. We need to stop loving what we know. We need to be, embrace change, and we should be ready to leave ideas and concepts which has made us successful till now, and we should be ready to change.
Thank you. So thank you all the panelists for your wonderful insights and all. I guess the appetizer session is done. You can go and have your full lunch. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Requesting you all to please wait back. And can I please have Mr. Ajay Singh on stage to felicitate all our panelists? Starting with Mr. Nikhil Kamat.